Welcome to another episode of the D Will Show. I am your host, D Will, and this is episode 126. If you don't already, make sure you follow me on Instagram at D Willow, DWILLOOO. Follow me on Instagram to stay up to date with any upcoming interviews, just to see what I have going on. So be sure to go follow me on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the D Wood Show. Also follow us on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Go follow the D Wood Show over there. Um, what else? Connecting your business to new horizons. Contact 27 Horizons for all your creative design needs, and book them today for your event to make it one to remember. And also book them for any DJ or photo services. Be sure to DM 27 Horizon for more info. But tonight I got a good one for y'all. Shout out to my cousin Skip, man, setting this up. You know, he been putting me on the game with all the good hoopers, man. So shout out to my cousin for this one. But tonight I got a good one for y'all. I got a Wabanzi Valley legend. I got a member of the 2004 All Beacon team, a JUCO All American, at JUCO All American, at NIA All American, and just an overall killer. Jarrett Starwood. Jarrett, what's up, Brody? Appreciate you tapping in, man.
What up, man? Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Shout out to Skip too, by the way.
Shout out to Skip, man. That's family right there. He been really helping me revamp this whole thing. So, we taking off with it now, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate all the kind words and everything, man. Appreciate you having me on for sure.
No, for sure. Man, to jump right into it, bro. For the people that may not, not too familiar with you, just kind of take us through your upbringing. How did you, where'd you grow up? How'd you get involved in the hooping and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I would say, man, I moved up here with family at probably like 7th, 8th grade. We had came and kind of did the back and forth thing for a minute, and then I would say we made it permanent around 2000. So I got up here. I was in 8th grade. As far as basketball is concerned, man, you know how you typically can remember when when you do things or you start things that might change your life or have an impact on you. I really don't even remember picking the ball up. I don't ever remember not having the ball. I don't ever remember not having the ball. I mean, I actually saw an older cousin of mine. I had a funeral to go to back home, and I haven't seen her in probably 2 years. The first thing she said was, "I think this is the first time I've ever seen you without a basketball in your hand." So it's been like that. It's been a love affair since as far back as I can remember. And I was able to come up here and really turn it into something. It's always just been fun. It was always a thing. All my cousins played, my pops played, my uncles played. Everybody around me played, and I kind of had the promise as a youngster. So they pushed me for as long as they could. When I got up here, I was kind of on my own, but it was already in me at that point. So we just ran with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what led to the choice of you guys moving up this way? Did you have family up here already that kind of led to y'all coming up here?
Nah, man. Actually, my stepdad, he got a job transfer up here. He used to work for a chemical plant in Joliet.
Okay.
But from what we pretty much knew, Joliet had his rough areas. We didn't know too much about Aurora until we got to Aurora.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean? So it just kind of happened that way. He got a job transfer. It made the most sense. So man, we made our way up here. And just in comparison to, economy, what it's like here versus what it's like there, it was more opportunity here. So we just stayed.
Yeah. Now, how did you guys adapt to it? Was it kind of a tough transition? Because I know, being down south and coming to the Midwest, you got to deal with the weather and the taxes and just living. Like, you have to adapt.
Everything. Nah, it was tough, man. It was tough. I mean, obviously, leaving family, leaving friends, and everything that we know, was one thing. But then the climate, it's a completely different climate, needless to say. But even so when we first got here, we flew, and man, we was at the airport. It was the middle of the winter time. We was at the airport playing in the snow. It was the first time we seen snow. It didn't snow in Baton Rouge. So You know, we throwing snowballs at each other. Probably look crazy. Probably look, super country out at the air, looking crazy. But it was a completely different world for us. Just all the way around. Even your hoods, your bad neighborhoods, it looks different. It's completely different. The projects up look different than the projects down there. The nice neighborhoods up here look different than the nice neighborhoods out there. Just everything was a complete 180. So it took a minute to adjust. Obviously it took a few years. But it's an area that we moved to that's always been pretty smooth. So it wasn't adjusting in a negative way per se. It was just getting used to everything. I was always the country kid in class. I always got talked about, for having a little accent. So yeah, now we had our time to adjust, man. But it was a pretty seamless one after we got used to the fact that we were the only ones of us that was here.
Okay. Now I know you said you come from like a basketball family. As a kid, you played everything in the neighborhood. You was playing football, soccer, baseball. You did it all. Did you juggle with any other sports? Could you have played another sport if it came to it, or was it always hooping for you?
I mean, I like to think so. But to be honest, we love football. And being from Louisiana, that's always kind of been the main sport anyway. Basketball was kind of back burner. So everybody played football. So I used to love football. I thought I was going to be a wide receiver at some point. I didn't really start putting any kind of muscle on until I got grown. I was a little too skinny to play football. I was fast. I could jump. So I thought, hey, throw it up. So that was always the thing. So I thought I had a small future in football. I actually used to love baseball as well. I played a little baseball too. But, it was nothing like that basketball.
Okay. Travis Brown, what up, Brody?
Brown, what up?
What was that moment for you, bro, when it kind of was that final straw for you? You was like, okay, hooping is what I want to do for me. I'm not doing it because my family's, that's what they did. But like, what was that moment when you was like, okay, like I'm a really lock in with it. I'm a really, go hard with it.
Yeah, man. It's tough to say. I mean, it was a couple different times. I remember, probably being maybe 10 years old. I had a couple older cousins, maybe around 5, 6 years older. And having a fight to get on the court, was a big thing. So I was actually telling one of the kids earlier today, we didn't really train back then. We just played. We hooped wherever we hooped. And then they were older. All the older guys ran the court. So in order for you to get on the court, you had to be nice. So I remember going to the court, over and over. They wouldn't let me play. Finally, somebody turned the ankle. They needed one to finish the game, and they let me play. And I just remember knowing, like, all right, if I don't play well right now, I'll never play again. I knew that at that point, I'll never play again. And I got out there, I made my first shot, made another shot, and everybody started tripping. I knew it was over with. It was over with from there. I knew I was done. And then I had another moment where one of my older cousins, we all kind of stayed at grandma's house in a sense. And I used to get up super early and try to watch SportsCenter. A lot of the games would come on late and we had bedtime. I couldn't be up all times of the night. So I get up at the crack of dawn before school, like 5, 6 o'clock, and try to catch that SportsCenter show so I could see, who was doing what. And this is like in 3rd, 4th grade. And I had an older cousin. He woke up and saw me sitting down there watching the highlights, and I was wide awake. And he was like, kind of hit me with one of them, like, man, who woke you up? I said, man, I do this every morning. I meant that. You know what I mean? And so at that point, the comments started to be made by the people who I love and respect that, okay, like, man, you might have something. You know what I mean? And so they started with me, and it just kind of kept going from there.
Okay. Like you said, you get up, watch SportsCenter. Who was some of them players that you kind of was watching that you kind of was trying to adapt your game after? Was it rather that been people in your family, NBA players, college players? Who was that player for you that you kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna lock in on him. I like his game.
Yeah, man. It's crazy because it was a few. So, obviously Michael Jordan. I grew up in the 90s, so it's like Jordan was everything for everybody, on the basketball side. So I loved MJ. but you couldn't be like MJ. You know, you couldn't fly like
Yeah.
MJ, tall like MJ. So the only thing that I remember ever saying was, you know, I want the ball on the last shot. It was one more point, give me the ball. That was always, and that kind of stayed the same throughout. I don't think I ever lost that. But you know, I really love Penny Hardaway. You know, I loved Hardaway. I thought
So
he was the only person that, you know, used to play Jordan and, you know, used to make me sweat a little bit. Like, man, you know, this boy tough. So it was Penny, and then obviously Iverson. You know, Iverson was our one. He was short. You know, he had all the swag. He didn't listen. He was hard headed. So as a kid, you know, you like that kind of thing. And the fact that everybody, you know, they kind of slighted Iverson for a while, and no matter what you said about him, you couldn't stop him. And so that was
yeah,
all. That was always the thing to me. It was just like, you know, you can say what you want, you can look how you want. If I got this basketball, ain't nothing you could do about it. And so, you know,
yeah,
I always kind of fed into that from him. Um, but it's so many, bro. Like I study and watch, just live basketball like pretty much all my life. I love Nick Van Exel growing up. My father was left-handed, and I always wanted to be left-handed, so I used to love the left-hand point guards, Kenny Anderson. Um,
yeah,
I used to love those guys. And I'm gonna think about a couple more when we hang the phone up on trip, but you know, it was just a lot of them. And then, you know, of course, you know, I had my few guys around me. You know, my uncles played. You know, he was a good player. I had an older cousin that was maybe 2.5 years older than me, and he was a dog. And you know, everywhere we went, he had that kind of respect. You know, and that meant a
yeah,
lot. So, you know, I
yeah,
always wanted that same respect that he got. You know, we go to different areas to play, different courts to play. And, you know, he always had a lot of respect. He had a lot of love from everybody. And I always remember him having to show and prove. And so kind of growing up that way was always, you know, I'm waiting on my turn, you know, waiting on my time. And I'm expecting it to be this way. You know, so by
yeah,
the time I was able to get in some positions where, you know, we're going to this neighborhood to play, we're going over this park district to play, we're going over here to play. You know, we in the backyard where everybody fight. We're gonna go back here and play. Um, you know, it just I look forward to it, you know, because I felt like it was a rite of passage. I just wanted my respect.
yeah.
It
Now
was the
talk
same.
about, coming from a basketball family. I know them battles were competitive. Just kind of take us through the moments where y'all playing one on one that led to fights. So y'all led to, everybody had those moments. Just talk about how it was for your household. It was like every
Yeah,
time we hooped, somebody was fighting.
yeah. Well, so like I had a couple brothers. I had a younger brother, you know, that we always close. And he, you know, he loved to hoop like me, but I don't think anybody around, honestly, you know, and maybe they did, but in my mind, you know, I didn't think anybody loved basketball the way I did. You know, I didn't think anybody, you know, was really involved with the game the way I was. You know, to me, there was nothing more important. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? I played video games. I did all the same stuff everybody else did, but it'll be a point where I'm break away from the video game, even if I got to break away by myself and go over here and shoot around by myself. You know what I mean? So it kind of was always that. So, you know, me and my younger brother, we really didn't have too many, you know, not on the basketball court. We got it. We started getting a couple scopes when we got a little older. You know what I mean? The fouls started to get a little hard, you know. So,
yeah, yeah,
but growing up, it was really, you know, my older cousins, they were too big to really fight me, but they were trying to upset. They was trying to piss me off. They wanted to try to see if I fight them. You know, you call a foul, you cheat me out of a foul, I'm ready to fight every time. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. For you, what led to you wanting to really lock in on hooping on? Like, was it just not to follow in your family's footsteps? But what was that moment for you when you was like what was the moment for you when you was like, okay, I love this. Like, I want to do this for me. Like, you don't have to force me to get up to go hoop. Like, you don't have to force me to watch highlights. Like, what was that moment for you when you was like, it clicked for you?
bro, I can't even remember because ain't nobody ever had to make me. You know, if anything, I'm
Wow.
begging y'all. I'm begging y'all to come outside. I'm begging y'all to take me to the court. You know, if
Yeah.
my cousin used to have to try to sneak out the house so I wouldn't try to follow him to go play. So they used to have, you know, a bunch of runs at LSU all the time in Louisiana. And man, I always knew, you know, he was going and he would always, you know, finally when I caught on, he would try to do something to send me to the back and then he'd sneak out. So I was all,
yeah.
I'm, trying to make my way to the court. You know what I mean? So it was never really a situation like that. If anything, it was always, you need to chill out, man. Go do something else.
Yeah,
Stop the
yeah.
ball in the house. That's kind of the situation.
Okay. Talk about, did you play travel ball? When did travel ball kind of come in the picture for you?
Yeah, man. So I would say AAU for me. I didn't play AAU until I was a sophomore in high school. So like I said, we moved up here, about eighth grade. Um, and I might have played like on a local travel team, just with kids from school, something like that. But as far as really being in the mix and playing where all the players were at, really competing, um, I was ineligible, so I always had academic issues in school, just undisciplined, stuff like that. So like my freshman year, I played the first semester, didn't play the second semester. Sophomore year, I played the second semester and didn't play the first semester. And so my sophomore year, I had a teammate, one of my best friends, Mason Stewart. Shout out to Mace. Mace was real good. Mace had always played. He was ranked. You know what I mean? Like he always kind of had that clout. But in the gym, it's all even. And so we always had a lot of respect for each other. He used to always tell me I was better than he was back in the day. And so we were on the same team playing at Wabanzi. It was we was on the sophomore team. And it was like my maybe fourth or fifth game back from being ineligible. And we had a big game, and I, had a great game. Me and him both, we had a great game. And so the guy who was there to recruit him to move to the program, which was Illinois Warriors. It's a couple. I know Travis Brown, T. Brown played for the Warriors for a second, but
Legendary team right there, bro.
legendary. I mean, it was only so many AAU programs back then. And back then the Illinois Warriors, the Illinois Fire, it was Nike and Adidas. So Larry Butler came out to Wabanzi. He was there watching Mason. I had no idea who he was. It was just a guy coming up to me after the game telling me, how much game he thought I had, and he was gonna be keeping an eye on me and all that. I'm just like, all right, cool, all right. And I spent my summers down south with my father. So when we moved, he moved to Atlanta. And so I would always leave right after school and go down there and spend the summertime with him. And so Mason and his dad, kind of caught me right after the season one day. I thought just, about to chill out or whatever. And they brought me in a room, had it all like it's a serious conversation. So I'm thinking like, man, what's going on? And he sit me down and he got this paper in front of him and he telling me about these dates and where they playing at and how good he thought I was and all of this. He was just like, you got to give your summer up though, because we're gonna be traveling. And that was a big deal for me. You know what I mean? Me and my dad, we got a close relationship. We always have. I always enjoy, going down there for the summer. But I wanted to play, and I hadn't played, really had been a year. Like I said, only had a couple games that second semester. And so, that first maybe weekend or two was rough, just because the competition level was different. And then, at Wabanzi at the time, it was very fundamental, very strict, type of basketball. So that was already an adjustment in itself. And so then going from, having to play strict and having, like a seatbelt on to now going back out here to where it was kind of natural in the beginning, where it's like, hey, if you can hoop, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
About that second weekend, that's kind of what it was. I kind of figured it out. I mean, I had a big breakout game. I went for 30-something. It was a pretty big tournament. And it was just really from there, man. So from sophomore year, I think I started in the spring. Nobody knew me by the time I came back junior year. I remember my head coach at the time, Dave Sauerbar. He was a varsity coach. I remember him walking to me during gym class. It was like the second day of school, and him handing me a big U.S. mail crate full of mail from college coaches. And all that happened within the span of like 4 months. And so he walks up to me in front of everybody. So it's the second day of school, so nobody's dressing for gym yet. We just taking attendance, making sure everybody here. So we all dressed in our street clothes. And he came and found me with this big mail crate in front of everybody. He dropped it on my lap. And he was like, man, I don't know what you've been doing, but you need to come see me after school. And that was kind of the start of it. And I mean, I remember coming home, with the crate and me and my mom and my brothers tripping out.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. It happened so fast, but it was one of those things where we always knew it. So it was like, man, finally, okay, so here we go. Like, all right, I wasn't tripping all this time. So that was the start of it. So I mean, I really, I played junior year, played senior year. I really only played 2 summers of AAU ball. I played
Okay,
that
so
summer.
you more what they call a late bloomer, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like
So to
a
speak,
late
yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was really kind of coming
Okay.
out of nowhere for everybody outside of, Waubonsie area. If anybody, didn't used to come to the park and play where we were, we used to all hoop at the Eola Center. So a lot of the guys from East, shout out to Yami and Travis and Terry and all them guys, Larry Mosby, all them guys, they used to all come up there and hoop, all the time. So I knew
Yeah.
the East guys, for a minute, and then
Yeah.
Tyrone Evans too. I knew all those guys for a minute. And so like they knew, but then, I finally had an opportunity to showcase in front of, some people that meant a little bit more than just the area. And it kind of took off real quick.
Okay. Speaking on, you said you knew guys from the East Side. What led to you going to Waubonsie though? Was that just the school that was just in the area? Because you could have went to East, you could have went to West. You know what I'm saying? Like, what led to you going to Waubonsie though?
Yeah, it was just a school in the area. You know what I mean? Like my
Okay.
my parents, my mom, my stepfather, they didn't know, about the whole basketball scene and everything. So at the end of the day, all of these schools were better than the ones that were in Baton Rouge for the most part. I had one school that's a basketball school down there. I maybe would have gone to, but I wanted to go to the hood school. So it was like, Waubonsie
Yeah.
was a better opportunity than everything else. And so I guess they just figured, hey, whatever gonna happen, but you'll be over here. And I didn't even
Yeah.
really learn too much about that until I got on the AAU circuit. I think, the first person that said something to me might have been Yami. Said something about transfer to East. It was Yami or Fuji. One of them. One of them said something about come to East and had me going home talking crazy to my mama like I want to transfer to East. And she shut me down so fast.
Man, no, that would have been crazy though. That would have been
That would have
crazy.
been
But
crazy. That would have been crazy.
you
East
never
or
know
West.
how things work.
Yeah, we would have. East was loaded, West was loaded. Everybody was loaded. It would have been too much almost.
Yeah. Did y'all play East or West at Waubonsie?
Yeah, we played East. We were in the same conference, so we saw East every year. We didn't see West. I saw West, I think, just my senior year, and that was my last high school game was against West.
Okay. How was those matchups going against your homies that you hoop with when it's like, look, man, we on the high school level now. We ain't at the gym. This
Yeah.
means something to us.
Man, it was always crazy just because, I thought that East had a team with as many good players as anybody. Like they were really stacked. Like they didn't have any posts. Talk about a team where really like playing 5 guards, and they press was a monster. Press was a monster. But the only thing I can remember saying, I remember telling Terry this, like, man, y'all gonna kill us for 3 quarters. We're gonna end up beating y'all in the end just because y'all gonna do something crazy. Y'all gonna do something crazy. It's gonna happen. But it was a lot of fun because I could always tell they wanted to beat us bad. I don't know if that was me or just us or just the fact that we are rural schools going at it. They definitely used to love that matchup, and that was always good for me because it's challenging. You know what I mean? Like they come to the court, they come to the park, it's gonna be a battle. They come to our school and play, it's gonna be a battle. We at their school and play, it's gonna be a battle. And it's love. Outside of that, after that, we're gonna talk about the game, we're gonna talk about each other the whole nine. But it was more fun than anything. Very competitive. Travis, I always thought was one of the best guards around. I didn't think that he got a lot of the pub that he probably should have got. You know what I mean? But man, Travis was one of the smoothest guys around. He kind of played like that. He was like Chauncey Billups. Back then he just was. He wasn't slow like Chauncey Billups, but just his game and everything was just like that. He wasn't ever trying too hard. Didn't really have to. He could shoot it. He could handle it. He can he could do it pretty much all from the point guard spot. And I thought, playing against him, and then you had Terry Jeffries, who at the time was the fastest player in the state. Legit, no soft shake. Terry at 6'1", 6'2", he was moving faster than anybody. And then you had Tyrone Evans, who was, when we were in high school, Tyrone was like a grown man, with his, he had them big wide shoulders, but he had a handle, he could shoot the ball. Like, so you just had guys, Yami, Fuji, like you just name them all. You had guys, Gerard, shout out to Gerard, but it was a bunch of those guys that could play, so it was always competitive. And for us, me and Mason Stewart, I know Mace was always just as competitive as I was. He always wanted the matchups just like I did. It was sometimes the other guys we had to like, come on, man, like we need you. You know what I mean? So it was like that sometimes, but man, we loved it, bro. It was a lot of fun. I really wish we would have really cherished that time a little bit more. You know what I mean? And really we took advantage of that time that we had a little bit more. West of Royal a little bit different. West was West. So like it's difficult now even talking to a lot of the kids. I train a lot of ball players, around the state. It's difficult sometimes even trying to explain to them, what West Aurora basketball really is and what that's about. You know what I mean? There's somebody coming from the other side of town, but it's just like, that's a tradition. And, sometimes when guys don't handle it and treat it the same way, it's hard to watch, man. It's hard to even explain and say, man, y'all don't even know what y'all got on your chest. That's that Aurora West, that means something, and it did. West was it. Everywhere you go, West was it. And when we were, in high school, West at one point, and I think this was 03, it was the best team in the country, let alone the state or the city or the area. Best team in the country. You got 7 Division I players on one team. So that enough said. So if you're a competitor, then you look for that. You want that. You know what I mean?
You want those matchups.
I was always upset because we didn't play West. We didn't play West. We didn't have one schedule. And so I had a lot of respect for Jay Thomas. I had a lot of respect, Damian Mason. I thought D Mace was
killer.
He was like an NBA player in high school. You know what I mean? With some of the stuff that he could do athletically. He was off the chain. Then you had Sarah Soli when he came. You know what I mean? He probably had maybe the best handle in Illinois. Like, so you had a lot going on in Aurora at that time. And I always just wished and hoped that we played them. And it was a thing. Now you want to transfer, you want to play with everybody, and we wanted to play against each other. And we wanted to play against each other. Like, I want to see what I've been reading about. I keep hearing that you this and you that, and I'm watching you, and you are. But now I want to see what it feels. Let me see it. Let me come sit right here and see it. Show it to me. So it was always that kind of energy. So I was always a little salty about not being able to play West more often.
Yeah. But you said you played West your senior year. Now, was that the playoffs?
Yeah, that was the playoff. We played them in sectional championship or super sectional, one of the two.
Okay. Okay. So y'all met them downstate. Okay.
Yeah, no, we actually, man, we hosted the sectional. So we were actually at Wabanzi. Okay. It was crazy. We were at Wabanzi and we were the away team. Because West had
okay, got you.
Yeah,
okay.
So it was the sectional championship. Yeah, man. They had Jay, they had Justin Sarasoli, they had Sean Pruitt, TJ Marion. So that's 4 D1s right there. And you got Haven. I think Haven ended up playing at SIU. I think he walked on. That's another one. And you had Sheldon. Shout out to Sheldon. Sheldon went to, I think, a grade D2, if I'm not mistaken. That's a basketball pedigree of a school. You know what I mean? Like, even the guys that didn't start and came off the bench, some of those guys played college ball. So I remember, I can just remember reading something in the paper. And I don't know if it was Jay or Justin. Somebody from over there said something to the effect of they wasn't worried about us. Something like that. And boy, I was pissed. Boy, I remember being in school being hot. Like, what? I couldn't believe it. So, like, I just remember being completely thrown. Like, I don't remember too much about the day other than getting to the school before the game. And everybody was already outside. Like, the gym doors hadn't even opened, let alone warm-ups or nothing. We all just getting to the school. and everybody was already outside banging on the doors trying to get in. And I remember, walking in and somebody from West saying my name and saying something crazy to me. And I said, all right, bet. All right. And that's all I remember. I just remember, like, it's kind of one of them situations where, again, it goes back to the, show and prove. Now it's like, it goes back to that. I'm fighting for my time to get on the court. I want my respect. I felt like I didn't get it. And so I made it a point to go out there and get it from everybody. Players, fans, refs, everybody. I wanted, at the game was over with, obviously we wanted to win, but we knew what we were up against. We were 25-5 in high school my senior year, and we didn't have anybody over 6'2". I did our jump balls. I did our jump balls and then turned around and ran our point. So I did a jump against Sean Pruitt. He's 6'9". So it's just like, there were certain elements to the game. We knew we weren't going to be able to outlast. We didn't have anybody who could even halfway match up with Sean. The guys we did have, they fought with everything they could, but it just 6'1". He's 6'9". Going to Illinois. Now he's not 6'9" and sorry, he's 6'9" and serious with it. So, yeah, man, that was a whole thing. But I do definitely remember feeling like, if we don't come out of here with a W, I want everybody in here when they leave here tonight to feel like, I'm the best player out here. You know what I mean? With all due respect to everybody else, I wanted that respect. I felt like, again, I didn't feel like anybody loved basketball the way I did. And because of that, I felt like I was the best.
Right. Did you feel like after that night, even though y'all didn't get the win, did you feel satisfied enough with yourself? Was like, we didn't get the win, but they remember my name now. They know who I am. They gonna think twice before they talk crazy about me
again. Yeah, I mean it was a bittersweet feeling, man. It was like, you going through the motions. I even remember during the game, you know what I mean, getting a couple looks from from Justin and them, like, like I remember that point, like, all right, cool. But then it was just like, once it's over with, it's like, it's over, bro. That was the last game. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I thought that I did. And, it's probably just me being a head case. I'm sure they probably did. I just, I'm thinking like, man, y'all don't respect me enough. So I'm about to go out here and go crazy. So it was that kind of situation. So I definitely did. I felt I was proud of myself, but at the same time, it was bittersweet, bro, because it really came to an end at that point. You know what I mean? Now let's see where we're gonna move forward and go to next.
Okay. I know you kind of talked about, previous how you kind of had some academic troubles. You know what I mean? When your coach gave you that big old box of letters, college letters, was that the turning point for you? And like, okay, I didn't really need to lock in on changing my grades around because I could be the best hooper in the world, but my grades ain't it. You know what I mean? I can't really hoop to my potential, or I might not get the looks that I know I deserve. Was that the moment for you where it really clicked? Where you was like, all right, man, I really got to lock in on my schoolwork?
Yeah, and I mean it should have been more. I think if I had an idea to improve, and I did. Obviously I did better than what I did before, but it wasn't enough, for me to get the job done and be able to accept the scholarship. You know what I mean? Like I had a lot of different schools reach out to recruit, from mid-major, high major. I was going through some stuff the other night. Actually, when you reached out to me, and my mom she used to save my newspaper articles and save, some of my letters that she thought was dope. And we moved a bunch of times. So I lost a lot of that stuff, but I did find some that I was able to keep. And, Arizona, Seton Hall, Oregon, Virginia, Minnesota, Iowa State, to name a few. Just, I'm going through looking at it. I'm just like, man, I wish somebody would have grabbed me by my collar and, made me do right, man.
Yeah.
So I did, I definitely tried to turn it around, and then even with those conversations from my dad, you know what I mean? Because he wasn't able to be here to see. But he definitely traveled, he traveled and he would meet us in tournaments, you know what I mean? So he always had his feedback, and once he kind of saw that too, like, okay, now this is a real thing. We definitely tried to lock in, but it was a little too late, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, what were some of the schools, so those were offers that you just mentioned, the Arizonas, or were those just interests, in you?
Just recruitment interest. They really won't offer you
Okay.
until you have all ducks in a row. So, had
Okay.
I qualified, then yeah. But I
Okay.
wasn't qualified. Now it was still a bunch of schools that recruited, and kind of waited
Okay.
through that process to see. Um,
Okay.
it was still a bunch of those, Marquette. I love Marquette a lot. I actually wanted to go play with D Mace, Damian Mace. That's where he went. I wanted to go play with D Mace bad. And that was right after Dwayne Wade. So Marquette was, it was on. So I
Uh,
wanted to go to Marquette bad. Indiana State. I loved my visit to Indiana State. We had a great one. I actually went to U of I. Um, Man, with Sean Pruitt, with a couple other guys, we got a chance to scrimmage against that team. Now Darren Williams wasn't there, but D Brown, he played. Roger Powell played. James Augustine, all those guys played. We had a chance to get up and down against them. We had a great game. So yeah, man, I still had some opportunity, but ultimately, when you're looking at all 4 years, that cumulative GPA wasn't where it should have been. And so I had to go
yeah.
JUCO.
Okay. Now, what led to going to Wabanzi? So you went to Wabanzi, and then what led to the choice of going there? Staying local. You know what I mean. You can always go to a JUCO out of state or something like that. But what led to your choice of going to Wabanzi?
Man, at the time, I was so disappointed, about not being able to move forward in, where I thought I would have been. And so it was just like, all right, well, at the time you could go JUCO for a year and then just transfer out. I just so
Yeah.
happened at that same year, they changed the rules where you had to graduate and stay for 2 years. And so before, the rule changed, I'm just like, all right, man, like if this is crazy because the coaches from Wabanzi used to they were everywhere, bro. So like if I was at the park hooping, they was out there at the park recruiting. If I was at the gym hooping, they was at the gym recruiting. So I'm like, man, this dude following me everywhere. So I'm like, all right, man, like let me just go see the school at least. Let me go for a run. So he like, just come and check the school out. Come go for a run. So I went up there to hoop, and it was, to my surprise, it was a gang of guys that could really hoop. Now I was by far the youngest. I graduated high school at 17. I started college at 17. You know what I mean? So all of these guys in JUCO already, they 20, 21. Yep, Coach Heist, Jeezy. So they started, they were 20, 21. I'm 17. So they were all older than me. But they could hoop. It wasn't no bump. I'm thinking it's JUCO. It can't be like that, but I didn't know. And I get there, man, it's a real run. Like it's guys in here that's grown man playing grown man defense. They know who I am. I don't know who they
Yeah.
are. They defended me with that. Like, no, man, you skinny, you know what I mean? So it was, I remember that day, like, and I remember like, okay, so this is a real run. Like, let me lace my shoes up for real. Like, okay. And so after that, I'm like, all right, I guess this ain't gonna be that bad. You know what I mean? This wouldn't be that bad. And it was. I mean, well, Bonzi is much different now than it was 20 years ago. I say that. Shout out to Lance and Mike McAllister and the guys and what they're doing out there with Bonzi now. But the idea was just to go for a year and then move on. You know what I mean? Move on. And within that first year, we got pregnant with Javion. He was born around that time. And life just got real, bro. It just wasn't about basketball at that point. You know what I mean? I wanted to be a good father just as much or more than I wanted to be a great basketball player. You know what I mean? Because of my relationship I had with my dad. You know,
Yeah.
so when I got an opportunity to be one, even though I was young, I knew I wasn't ready. It was just like, so you got to figure it out. It was more
Yeah.
about um, you know, trying to be a good dad, I guess, and put my kid in a position, however I was going to do that. I had no idea, I had no clue, but I just knew it was bigger than me at that point. And so, as bad as I wanted to play, I tried, but it was a lot of things going on at that time, that kind of took my focus away from myself.
Yeah. Now, when you said you went to the runs at Wabanzi, they kind of was roughing you up a little bit. They know who you are. They're trying to make sure you toughen out the road with them. How long did it take you to adapt to that style of play? You know what I'm saying? Because I know you said AAU to high school is different. But then now you going from high school, now you going to like junior college where it's like underdog, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to adapt?
Man, I adapted that day, bro. Honestly, like we had 1 or 2 games where they roughed me up a little bit, but again, I'm competitive. I love this. This is what basketball is to me. You don't run away from what's good. You go right into it. It's somebody else on that side that's nice. You play your position. We're gonna guard each other. It ain't nothing to talk about. Like it just kind of is what it is. So, once I felt that, I said, all right, this is what I came here for. Bet. So now that day, that instant, that day, I was ready that day.
Okay.
Actually went when I committed to Wabanza, we went to a JUCO All-American camp that was held in Indianapolis. And I think I left the camp with maybe 4 or 5 more schools recruiting me than had been in high school. We had Yami was with me. Yami Ball, shout out my brother Yami. Yami was with me at that camp.
Yeah.
And Mike Sims, man, rest in peace, Mike Sims. He went to Whitney Young. He actually came to Wabanza College with us, and he was down there at the JUCO camp. And I went out there and showed out. So I was ready, bro. Like I said, I felt like I was a much better player than where I was. You know what I mean? And that never really. So and it was. I mean, they were grown, they were adults, but it furthermore let me know that I wasn't being delusional. I was ready.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what led to the AU? Was AU some of the schools that kind of jumped on you after you really got adapted at Wabanzi?
Nah, man. After Wabanzi, I took maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years off.
Okay, because when Jay was born, that's where you kind of
yeah. So I was working.
Okay.
I had a full-time job. I was trying to work, and then it just got to a point where I'm playing, and I'm not too far gone. I'm just knowing like, man, I gotta play somewhere. I still got some eligibility left. Let me just try to go somewhere and play. And I had Mike Leonard, who was a teammate of mine at Wabanzi. We were close. We was thick as thieves, and he went to AU.
Okay.
And so it was just like one day he was like, man, why don't you just come hoop at AU, bro? Like, like you working and all that, you might as well just come hoop. You got some time left to hoop. And shout out and rest in peace, Larry Welton. Larry was there. He was an All-American at AU. Now Larry from the south suburbs, he's not from out here, but he was 6'7", lefty. He had a 3-ball. He could fly. He could really fly. And so it was just like, I go up there and play. And just kind of starting to see the makeup of the team, the campus, like it was smooth. AU was smooth, and it was just like, why not? You know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah.
So coach was
actually crib. You ain't going nowhere. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. And so coach was actually very surprised. I called him. I hit him up. I got his number. I hit him up, and I remember him. I told him who I was, and I remember him kind of pausing for a second. And he was like, are you shitting me? Like, are you playing with me? Kind of, get me that. And I was just like, nah, I got your number from Mike Lennon. I've been in here talking to Larry. I just wanted to see what was up, man. Like, it's just kind of from there, and I went up to the school a couple of days later. He got me right with my financial aid and all that. And I was in. So it was really not to play AU like it's a down or not a good opportunity. I just, it wasn't even on the radar. I really didn't even know Aurora had a university, to be honest, until we sat around talking basketball and I had a chance to go up there and see for myself.
Okay. Now, so you were All-American at Wabanzi and All-American at AU. So your game didn't leave from you. You kind of still had it. Everything was still fresh and tight up for you. So you still had it. How did you adapt to just the college lifestyle, just the college ball, the classes, and everything just being different, more serious? The film, the weights, and all that stuff like.
Yeah, man. It honestly, it wasn't too different. And I would say, classes wise, it was kind of like school. Like you would think in college at AU we would have really large classrooms, but we didn't. It wasn't that many people. It really wasn't that much of a difference from where I had been before, except for the campus itself. The campus was nice.
Okay.
I got dorms. The school is clean. Like you ain't worried about none of that. So like that was a big part of it. Now we did some traveling, but we didn't really have to do a whole lot, man. Like James Lancaster was our head coach. We didn't have a whole bunch of crazy workout and weight programs. It was kind of one of them things where whoever was ready to play was going to play.
Okay.
So we were really tasked with that on our own. It was just about knowing the plays, knowing what we want to do, how we want to play. He wanted to play a free flowing offense, and we did. Larry was the man, and we all knew it, and we all appreciated it, and we went with it because he was. He was there before us, and he was cold. Larry was cold. So it was fun, bro. I would honestly say I had a lot of fun playing with those guys at AU for that 1 year. We had a good time.
Okay. Dude, playing, ball all these years, who has been your toughest matchup? Who has been your toughest matchup? I know you probably got a bunch of them. Like I said, you just named a bunch of killers that you played with. But who has been that one for you where you was like, I'm going to always remember this matchup right here? You may have a few. You could give me a few of them.
Man, bro. I would say the best player I ever played against was Lewis Williams. So I played against Lou Will in AAU. We played against them in the semifinals. We were at the AAU National Championship in Orlando, and so we beat them.
Okay.
And he was the best individual player that I thought I had played against at that time. Like, for us to be in high school, bro, he was so polished. You know what I mean? He had no wasted movement, no wasted footwork, no wasted dribbles. I don't even think he sweat the whole game. It's how easy it was, bro. I'm telling you, like, I think he beat them, but I think he had like 35. Like he just was cold, bro. Like it was just, and usually like I said, bro, I played for Larry Butler, so he didn't seen everybody. He didn't seen everybody. So, he wasn't really barring too much on who this guy was or who that guy was. It was always, hey, so what? I don't care. Why is he going around you? Why? It was that kind of energy.
Yeah.
But I remember with Lil Will, he was kind of like, hey, just go on back. It's all good. Y'all just bring it back. So I remember then like, okay, no, I'm not tripping in this dude. True. And he was, bro. He went straight out of high school. So there wasn't no cap with that. But I would say around town.
Around town. That's the good one. That's the good one we want to hear.
Around town, I would say Holyfield, Derek Holyfield. I always had a lot of respect for Holy, man.
Shout out Derek, man.
He plays so hard, bro. Like, and I always wished, I didn't really get to know Holy until we were grown. You know what I mean? Like he's a couple years older than me. So I didn't know him in high school. I never met him when I was in high school. But when he got done playing, at college and he came back home, was when we started being able to lock horns a little bit in the gym. And I just always remember, like, Derek gonna come get it out you, bro. You know what I mean? Like if you're not ready to play, he'll score all 15 on you. You know what I mean? So, always. So, Holyfield, rest in peace, Skip, Lathan. Skip was always one of them guys at every court, every gym. You know what I mean? It's hard to get Skip off the court. He gonna win. You know what I mean? And you don't even know how, bro. Skip ain't shot the ball the whole game, but he make the last shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he older, he talking to you the whole time. So Skip. I always had a lot of respect for Ricky Dominguez's game. I thought Ricky was cold-blooded. But again, all these guys were older. I would say around my age, you got Travis Brown, I mentioned, Jay, Terry Jeffries. But out of all of those guys, I thought Tyrone Evans was probably the best matchup for me. We were like the same, except I could dribble better than he could, and he was stronger than me. You know what I mean? So it was like a give and take. But come down, hit a three, I'm gonna come down, hit a three. Like it was always that kind of thing. I thought Travis, out of all those guys, I thought Travis probably was the best player. Travis just didn't always have his foot on the gas. He wasn't always trying to take your head off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was like, all right, cool, bro. We're gonna be cool.
That was good for you.
Go ahead and pass that thing. Go ahead and pass it. Pass to him, bro. I'm gonna chill out. Go ahead. So I was always cool with that. But I always thought Travis, I thought Travis had the most game out of all of those guys. Like, It'd be
Yeah.
one of those things where
Shout
you
out,
put
shout out
piss Travis
Trav,
off,
man.
then he'll show you. You make him mad enough, then he'll show you what's up.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. For you, what has been like your favorite moment in your career as a hooper?
Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. I would probably say the very first school to send any mail to me was the University of Nebraska. And so we had just got done playing nationals. Um, so I played 15U with the Warriors, and then that same summer I went from 15U to 17U. And so the Peach Jam, the Nike Peach Jam they have now, it was only
Woo.
17. It was only 17U back then. It wasn't 14, 15, 16. It wasn't all these grades. It was only 17U. And so I remember, going from 15U, we played nationals. I had a great national tournament. Butler calling me and saying, "Hey man, you want to go play at the Peace Jam?" I don't know what none of this stuff is. So I'm like, yeah, But it was Shannon Brown
Whatever,
and them.
man.
It was Shannon and them team. It was Shannon Brown, Marcus Hurd, Colin Falls, De'Aaron Williams. I mean, they just had a brick. They had a brick. And back in the day, we had a couple of websites. High School Elite was like the Illinois ranking site, and it was one or two others. Like Chicago Hoops was definitely on there, but like High School Elite was kind of the one. Just like Rivals was the national thing. And so I remember we used to check them rankings all the time. So I knew who all these guys were. So I remember getting to the hotel, never practiced, never met these guys. I'm being introduced to these guys as they getting dressed for the game for the first. You know what I mean? So
Like, here, put that on, bro. Come on.
yeah, here, take that jersey, hella big, jersey hanging all off. It's like a parachute. So we get out to the court, and bro, when I tell you, it was like being on TV or something. I'm looking to my right, Coach K sitting right here, Tom Izzo sitting over there, Jim Calhoun sitting over there. Everybody who I'm used to looking at on TV is sitting right there. And I remember having a moment. I'm standing around just looking around at everybody. And I don't know if it was De'Aaron or Justin Deming. One of the guys put a ball in my chest and said, "Man, come on. Come on." Like, so we warming up. I didn't think I was going to play. And I remember he put me in the game. I hit a jumper and threw somebody a lob. And everybody on the bench went crazy. You know what I mean? And I remember the other team called a timeout, a couple other plays that happened. But I remember everybody off the bench coming and like, I had an afro back then. I was growing my braids at the time. Everybody coming and messing my fro up. You know what I mean? But like, that was a big deal for me because it was like, I had gained respect to guys that I respected. You know what I mean? In just a minute. In just a minute of, not knowing these guys, meeting these guys. I don't know what Butler done said to these dudes before. They probably looking like, man, who is this skinny little dude?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was a big moment. So from there, the very first school to send any mail to me or call or anything was University of Nebraska. And we left Augusta. I ended up going to Atlanta with my pops and staying there for the last couple of weeks of summer. And my mama calling me, screaming in the phone, talking about, man, Nebraska just sent you this. They done sent you 5 letters to the house. And, so I remember that day like it was yesterday. That was probably the one that, at least the one that jumps out right now. That's probably it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This one, Brody. Man, where'd it just go? I just lost it. Hold on. Not to be too personal or anything like that, but like, we want to get your story as a whole, and give your flowers the proper way. What has been that moment in your life where you kind of hit a wall or you had to overcome adversity at some point to kind of get you to where you at now? Rather that been like just life, just with hooping, what was that mountain that you kind of had to overcome at that point in your life?
Oh man, it's been a couple. It's been a few, bro. Probably say maybe the most challenging time was, my son was born. Uh, he was a baby. This was my second year at Waubonsie College. And so I was trying to work. I was trying to be a full-time student, trying to be a, full-time basketball player. So I can remember, leaving practice at 4 or 5 o'clock. And I worked at Target at the time. And going to work at Target and being in there till 2 in the morning, getting up for 8 o'clock class, you know what I mean? And just, it's a lot of people that have gone through this. That wasn't even the first time that I had done that. But well, not the first time. That wasn't the last time I had done that, but it was the first time. It was a big change, just completely, just with everything. Up until that point, it was about me. It was about me getting from one spot to the next, hooping, just being a student athlete. And then at that point, it's like, well, I'm a father. You know what I mean? And a real father. Like this ain't something I could just not think about today. You know what I mean? This ain't something that I'm gonna wake up and just, nah. I'm at every doctor's visit. I'm at, I'm changing. I know how to change diapers. I'll fix this bottle. You know what I mean? Like, this is my son. That's how I felt. And so, he would, man, and shit, his mom, shout out to his mom for that too. She was working at the time, trying to work. We were young. And so we couldn't afford daycare, a lot of times. So a lot of times we had, friends that'll watch him for a minute. There was a couple of times I had to take him to school with me. You know what I mean? I'm coming to sit in the class and he's sitting right next to me in his car seat. And everybody in here just staring at me. And at the time, I'm just like, man, whatever. It's just like, it got to be done. So it's about to get done. But now that I'm an adult, now that I'm an adult, I'm sitting back thinking like, man, these people probably thought I was crazy. I remember the teacher, his name was Mr. Olson. He was my psychology teacher. I remember having Javion in my psychology class and him starting to fuss a little bit. He had woke up. He was sitting in that car seat. And I remember, man, cranking his bag open. He was hungry. I had a little bottle ready for him, slid the bottle to him, and I went back to writing my notes. And I remember, kind of looking up, waiting to hear whatever was next, and he was staring at me. And so I'm like, oh, shit, you know what I mean? Like, what I done done. But, he go ahead with the lesson, and then we had a talk after class, and he was, just basically kind of picking my brain, but then also, trying to give me some encouragement as well. And all that time, I'm just like, bro, I got to get to my next class, man. Like, come on. Like, what's the assignment? Like, what? But now that I'm grown, now that I can, kind of go back and think about the dynamics of it, it makes sense. It makes more sense now, But it's like I never felt like I didn't have that responsibility. Like, I felt like that responsibility was mine, and it was. And so, that was the biggest thing, is just trying to go literally from being a boy with no responsibility to trying to be an adult, to trying to be a grown man. Trying to do so with me still needing to be raised a little bit. Me, I need to be adjusted and fixed and shown how to do certain things. I still needed all of those things. So, it was difficult, but it was definitely a situation where I felt like I needed to race. I needed to race myself. I needed to race my son. I felt like, no matter where I'm at right now, he shouldn't suffer from my lack of. He shouldn't have to suffer from my lack of knowing or my lack of having. So it was always just a race to stay above that, so that way we could provide for him. I could give my part to what he needed. That would be the biggest thing. I think just from adulthood, that set the tone. From an adulthood standpoint of, hey, if I can make it through this, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. What has been some of your biggest lessons in fatherhood? Like, what has been some of the things that kind of really, that you had to learn, that you had to adapt to kind of be the father you are now?
Bro, it's no script. There's no script to it. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new day. And you can't take away the time that you have to prepare for the next day. You know what I mean? And then as he started to get a little older and he started to learn, I had to be sure about what I was saying and what I was doing. Now, obviously it took some growing, you know what I mean? Because like I said, he was born when I was 18. He's 18 right now. As a matter of fact, when he turned 18, I think one of the first things I said to him was like, all right, now picture you right now about to have a baby. You know what I mean? And he was quiet. He kind of sat there for a second, like, it's the truth. I'm like, man, picture you right now coming out of basketball practice and you got a baby waiting on you in the house. That's how it was for me. So that's why I'm, it's like I tell him so much. I know he get tired of hearing me, bro. I know I sound like a regular. I get it, but it's like I'm gonna tell you till you get on your nerves. I don't care. But at the end of the day, you can't say I ain't tell you. You can't say I didn't, come through with it. And I say we've done a good job for the most part, man. He's a great kid. All of them are. But he's a great kid. He's been able to do, some really great things. This is a Division I scholarship in anything, but basketball in particular. You know, you 1% of players in the country. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an easy thing to do. If we talking basketball, but if I said, you know, you in the top 1% of your class in any subject matter, that would be an outstanding achievement. You know, it's the same, bro. Like, it's a lot that's been going into where he is now, you know, and it's not just basketball. It's been a lot of life that we've lived. You know what I mean? In this short 18 years. So um
Facts.
just staying in the fire, bro. Just, you know, trying to get better from day to day, and, you know, accepting my mistakes, apologizing for some. You know, we've had to have some moments. I didn't do everything right. I didn't make all the right decisions. I didn't say all the right things at all the right times. And in the times that I was wrong, you know, definitely try to right those wrongs and apologize first, you know, so we can talk about, you know. That's really it, man. Just try to be the best example I could be. At some point you're gonna be an adult. And so I think that's the ultimate, is, you know, who you become as an adult. You know, for the most part. Obviously you can't control it, but it's just, you know, trying to set an example that he would, and they would take serious, that, you know, they would want to also live in truth and do things the right way, and, you know, hold themselves accountable, and, you know, don't blame nobody else for what you did wrong, and, you know, stuff like that, bro. We can go all night with that.
Okay, bet. But for you though, the knowledge that you have now, being an adult, being a father, if you could give advice to your 16-year-old self right now, like if you could look in the mirror and look at your 16-year-old self, what would be some advice that you would give yourself at 16 right now?
The opportunities now you won't ever have again. You know, don't ever take what's around you now, what's available to you now. Don't take it for granted. You know, because I can remember being that age and always feeling like there's another opportunity.
Mimi trying to jump the gun. She's talking about top
but
five. Hold on, Mimi, we getting there.
Yeah, that's really the main thing. No, it's all good. That's really the main thing. I would just say, you know, grab life by the horns, man. Like, don't let days go by where you're just floating by, letting the day float by. You know what I mean? Have a real purpose in what you're doing out here. You know, and wake up and fulfill that purpose every day.
Okay. For you, being a father, to a son that plays ball, how hard are you let me make sure I word this right. How hard are you on Javion, following, in your footsteps with playing ball? You know what I mean? I know sometimes certain parents can try to live their dreams through their kids. So like, how often, are you on Javion about, grades and, just training them, just with life overall?
Yeah, man, I would say it's changed over the years. You know what I mean? I would say I was like that, you know, in his earlier days. You know, I automatically assumed he wanted to hoop. You know, because I wanted to play, but then also because everybody who I grew up around, they wanted to hoop. You know, I didn't know nobody who didn't want to hoop in some form of capacity. So I automatically assumed he wanted to play. So when he was young, you know, he actually was, when he first started playing, that was when I started coaching. You know, that was that. So like him, I know you had a talk with CJ. You know, they played together. They played for me in like second, third grade. And bro, I'm sure I was tripping back then. I'm sure I was. I can remember having them kids run college drills, you know, in like the third grade. But we was smacking people, boy. We didn't lose. So you couldn't tell me I was wrong. But, you know, again, that's one of those things too, where there were some times that, you know, I went overboard. It was some times that, you know, I wasn't as understanding as I should have been. And there was some times that I was more of his coach than I was his dad. You know, and I had to apologize for that. You know what I mean? And thank God, after all these years of coaching at AAU, you know, because even him moving through AAU, we always kept finding ourselves in the same situation. I'm his coach again. You know, I'm trying to get away from him, go play for this team, that same team that called me and asked me to coach. And so it's just like, you know, over the years, just trying to figure out, you know, how to balance that, you know, because I didn't have to do that, you know, and that's one thing I couldn't relate to him on, was like, man, my dad wasn't my coach, and I couldn't have played for my dad. My dad was tripping, bro. So he'd come to watch me play, and he'll be tripping. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine if I had to play for him, I probably wouldn't have had that much fun. And so I tried to, once I started to realize, like, this probably ain't fun for him.
Yeah.
It put a different perspective on it for me, and I tried to balance things out a lot more. So even now, we'll train, we'll work out, obviously, but I'm trying to be much more dad than coach. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That has changed over the years. I definitely forced him to do some things when he was young because give and take. Sometimes you got to force some kids to do. They don't know no better, so you got to force them sometimes. Like, yeah, you want to be nice to them, you want to listen to them, but they don't know. They're gonna tell you one thing, they don't know, but you know better. So that was hard sometimes. You got to be the bad guy, but it is what it is. It worked out. So
Yeah. Okay. Being a coach, being a trainer, to different levels of skill level. What is some of the biggest adjustments that you have, to make when you're training certain players? 'Cause everybody game is different. You know what I mean? How do
oh
you
yeah,
have to adjust? Some kids you can fuss at them and you can threaten them. Not threaten them, but you know what I'm saying? Like in a
yeah.
competitive way. How do you adjust on different kids that you train?
Oh man. I honestly, again, just kind of wrapping it back around to my own son. Um, you know, I could talk to him one way when he was in middle school and he would react to it. But then when he got to high school, he would react a completely different way. You know what I mean? And so
Hmm.
being embarrassed and all of that kind of stuff come into play. And then once I started to realize like, damn, bro, did I just embarrass him in front of everybody? Like, I'm thinking I'm coach. I know these other kids not embarrassed because I'm coach. So I'm supposed to do what I'm doing. But to him, I'm coach
Yeah.
and dad. It might be double. Right. And he ain't saying it. He don't want to say it, but that was really it. So from that space, really being able to look at everybody individually and try to learn everybody individually from a coach standpoint, and how to motivate you. The best thing you can do as a coach is motivate. I can
Mm.
have a game plan and an idea all day, but if I can't motivate you to want to do it, then it's just my game plan. It's just my idea,
Yeah.
it's my strategy. I need to be able to motivate you to want to make that your strategy also, so we can see it from the
Facts.
same lens. So it was just figuring out ways to motivate guys to, and I've started training, a bunch of girls in the area, as well. Some are really good, some are going Division 1. Shout out to Lexi. Going Division 1, and Daniela and Ari and all of them. It's just everybody has their own things that make them tick. And for some players it's challenging. Let me challenge you. That'll get you going. For somebody else, it might be a ton of encouragement. I don't say anything negative to you. It's all encouragement, because the moment I say something negative, you're thinking about the negative. You're not thinking about the positive. And so
Hmm.
I had to learn that. I had to learn to get off my idea of the right way to go and the right thing to do, and figure it out. And that's a part of coaching. You got to figure these kids out. You got to be able to get to their level. Everybody not going to be able to rise to your level. I can scream at you all day, but that don't mean you're going to rise to the level of where you're supposed to be. And if I understand where you should be based off your potential, then now my job as your coach is to help you to get to that point. And that takes for
Facts.
you to slow down, learn who you're talking to. Number one, you got to
Facts.
listen a little bit, learn a little bit too, and understand that this ain't a slate where everybody's the same. Everybody don't react the same. Every group and every team is different than the one before. So
Facts.
that is fun to me. I actually enjoy that because it gives you a puzzle to figure out. It's a bit of a challenge, but it's also gratifying to know, like, I had an idea about this player. I knew where he or she could be, and they did the work. So not to take credit for what the kids are able to do, but just
Hmm.
knowing that, the idea I had to try to make that work was a successful one is gratifying. So that's the biggest thing, man, is just having to slow down and kind of get off your ego a little bit. As coaches, especially, you want everything done the way you want it done. But sometimes you got
Facts.
to learn how to get down to the level of who you're talking to, put your arm around them a little bit, and help them
Yeah.
get to that next level.
Facts. Okay. Okay. Now this part, man, is probably my favorite one. It's kind of like the hot seat questions I put everybody on. Mimi already kind of told you the question, or you probably seen the question already. When I talked to Skip, I'm like, this is my favorite one to ask, so I'm ready to hear your 5.
All right.
If I would say, Jay, I need you to give me your top 5 all time from the city. Who is your top
Ooh,
5?
man, top 5 from Aurora all time.
Yes, sir.
So
Everybody in
I'm
here,
gonna give
13 people in here.
I'm gonna give a
We
disclaimer. I'm gonna give a disclaimer because I didn't grow up here, so I only know from 2000 on. Now I've
Okay.
heard everybody's stories, but I can only talk about what I've seen. So I say
Okay.
top 5 from the town. I'm gonna exclude myself. I'm gonna say Boatwright is number 1.
Okay.
Holyfield, Derek Holyfield. Man, it's tough, bro. It's tough right here. I'm gonna say Ricky Dominguez, Jay Thomas, and
Last one. Who you rocking out with?
probably. Oof, man, bro. Probably.
Skip said D Mace.
D Mace ain't from the town. You know what I mean? D Mace from Kansas City. So that don't really count. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about born and bred Aurora guys. Then
Okay.
I would say probably Cam Denali.
Okay. Okay. Shout out Cam. Cam made
Cam
top
was a
5.
dog at West. Yeah, Cam was a dog at West. Now I know I might be missing some
You
guys.
right.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I didn't have a chance to see Jamal a whole lot. I know Silk was a dog. A bunch of guys, man, was good. But the guys that I really had a chance to see, and really kind of mix in with it, at least to a certain extent, those would be the guys.
Right. And I put you on the spot, bro. Like I ain't tell you the questions ahead of time. Give you a
Yeah,
chance to think about
yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
on the spot, so
You
they
gonna have somebody
gotta
mad,
understand.
bro. You're gonna have somebody mad at my DM about that. I already know.
No, it's all good, man. Look, they know it's on the spot, man. You can't think that fast. All them people, man. It's a lot, man. If you could play 1v1 versus anybody in your prime all time, who would it be? When I had Javion on, he said he had to see that matchup with you. He said you was talking crazy. So Jay said he would have did that to you.
Yeah, I'm glad he's confident like that. You know what I'm saying? He should. That let me know,
Right.
I taught him well because he's confident, he believes in himself. So he should say that.
Right.
And it's tough. I would probably I can't say one, so I'm gonna give you a few. So I would say Javion for sure. Javion would be my number 1.
Okay.
I think our foundations of basketball are different. So I think, the way I learned the game, the way I, was first introduced to the game, which was all competitive, all competition, all, and I don't think it was quite as rigorous for him as it was for me in that space. And so that kind of made us different in certain ways. Now he's taller, he's longer, he's put more meaningful work in at this stage than I did. 'Cause like I said, we didn't train, bro, back in the day. We just hooped. And the only way you got better was you went to go find where the older guys were playing because the older guys were better. And that was how we got better. So I would give him the edge on that. But I definitely think, back in those days, I was kind of straight to the throat with it. So it would have been interesting. So I would say Javion. I was grown when Ryan came of age, when Boatwright came of age. So we've played. Now me and Ra, I didn't call him Ra, we would go that far. So we've played, we had our battles, but like I said, I was an adult and he was like in high school coming into his own. But I think it would have been a very interesting matchup, with me at my peak, in high school, with him in high school around that same time. It would have been one. It would have been one.
Man.
So I would definitely say those two. And outside of people we know, Man, Jordan or Kobe.
Okay.
I would have. I
gotta have had that matchup. Oof.
Yeah, I mean, win, lose, or draw. We just gotta see. I just want to see. Let me get a couple buckets off. Let me hit one of y'all just crossover once or twice. You know what I mean? I'd have tried to get my rocks off that way, but that's really it. It had to be one of them.
Okay, facts. So they can't go wrong. I think Mimi said AI a good one.
Yeah, but man, Iverson too fast, bro. You can't really keep up with Iverson. Especially one-on-one. It ain't nobody else around. You got this whole court. Man, stop it. I don't think people realize like how dynamic Allen Iverson really was. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
Jordan, obviously stupid athletic. Kobe, all of those guys are stupid athletic, but Allen Iverson athleticism to be number one in 2 sports in high school, number one in the country in 2 sports. That kind of speaks a different language. You're a number one football player and a number one basketball player. So his speed and all of that would have been a tough matchup for me. I always had trouble with little, small, quick, strong guards anyway. So I wouldn't have, I would have played. It would have been like, come on, let's do it. But at the same time, bro, I would have been wiping my shoes a lot. He like this dude here. So
time out. I need a water break.
For real. So I'm gonna skip Iverson on that one. I'm gonna watch him. I'm gonna play Mike and Kobe though.
Okay, bet. If you could listen to 3 albums all time for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Man, what you on, bro?
We getting to know you, bro. We getting to know you.
3 albums. Golly. Okay. It's messed up. You're supposed to give me an idea. Let me think about this for a little minute. It's a lot of good albums. Nas, Illmatic.
Memorable to you. You know what I'm saying?
Illmatic from Nas.
Okay.
I would say, man. I would say probably, man, dude. Probably, see, man, this is stuck. Well, I gotta come back on this because I'm gonna say something, and then after we get off, I'm gonna be mad I said that. Didn't say that.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm definitely gonna say Illmatic. I
okay.
I love Illmatic. I love the Blueprint, Jay-Z Blueprint.
Okay.
And these are albums that to me you can play with no skips. You know what I mean? You can put that on and let it ride. And I remember the first time I heard Illmatic. Yeah, Illmatic. The first time I heard Illmatic, the album looped, and I didn't even know the album had started over. Like, everything just sounded so smooth, it blended so well together. I'm just like, man, it's the coldest I ever heard. So Illmatic, I'm gonna say the Blueprint. And maybe you might be right. Might be Jeezy. Might be that T101. It might be that.
Ooh, okay.
That first Jeezy. Oh man, that was iconic. Yeah. It might be that first Jeezy. See, you got Wayne, you got the Carter, the first Carter. But then you gotta mix it up too. You gotta throw a little R&B in there. So Usher, the Confessions. You can't go wrong with Confessions.
Snoop, what up, killer?
It's a lot. Snoop, what up, Snoop?
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either one of them, man.
Now, if I'm definitely gonna think of some more. You're gonna have me make a Instagram post or something with these albums. So I just say those for now.
Okay, bet. Just a few more for you, Brody. I ain't gonna put you on the spot a little bit more. If you could have 5 dinner guests, dead or alive, just sit at a table and just chop it up. You know what I mean? Whether it be NBA players, rappers, actors, actresses, family members that may have passed, still living. Who would be your 5 at your dinner table that you just want to talk and just get game from?
5 dinner guests, and they can be dead or alive.
Dead or alive.
Wow. Okay. Jesus, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and my 2 grandmothers.
Okay.
Both of them.
Okay.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
You heard me? All of them.
Okay, but if I said Jay, I can get you tickets to any. I can get you courtside tickets to any NBA game that ever happened in NBA history. What game would you say you want tickets to?
I saw it. I was there. I was there already. I saw Mike and Kobe play in '98. The game Mike had 36 and Kobe had 33 and did the windmill. I was at that game. We had just moved up here. We hadn't been here long. And somebody from my stepfather's company he worked for, they had season tickets and couldn't make it to the game. And we went to that game. Me and my brothers, we went to that game. Shaq didn't play. Scottie Pippen didn't play. But Mike played, Dennis Rodman played, Kobe, Eddie Jones, and Nick Van Exel, they all played. Bulls ended up winning by like 20, something like that. It wasn't close. But I watched Mike and Kobe up close.
Man, I was
every shot. I watched every play. I was there, bro. We sat maybe eight rows behind the bench. And every time Kobe came to the bench, we were screaming his name, going crazy. We got him to turn around and say, "What's up?" I'll never forget that. So I was at that game. I was at the game that the Heat, when they won that first championship against OKC, that game 5. I was at game 5 in Miami. So I saw LeBron win his first one. So I don't know, bro. If anything, maybe an all-star game or something. Let me
good ones already. Yeah, you ain't even tripping on these, dude.
Man, for real. So maybe give me tickets to the '96 All-Star game, or the 01 All-Star game, or '88 All-Star game. One of those. I'll probably take that.
Okay, bet. And then my last one for you, Brody, is we on the talking about hooping. I need your top 5 all time in the NBA. Who your top 5? Round it out.
Okay, so we going who I think is the best 5 or my favorite 5?
Your 5, whichever one. Your favorite all time 5, or who you think is the top 5 players ever?
All right,
give me your top 5 favorite ever, because I know sometimes that other one can get kind of tricky.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a little. Okay, so if I go top 5 favorite players of all time, it'll be MJ, Iverson, Kobe, Tracy McGrady.
Ooh, T-Mac.
Man, look. T-Mac.
Man, I wish he wouldn't have got hurt, bro,
Man, don't even get me started. I shouldn't have said it. T-Mac. And then for number 5, D-Wade when he was playing. I was a huge D-Wade fan when he was playing, bro. I thought D-Wade was incredible. Out of everybody else, D-Wade could do the most with the least amount of dribbles. You'll see D-Wade start the pick and roll. He'll start the pick and roll close to the half circle and it'll be at the rim in 3 dribbles. And he done split people, he done spun, he done, I'm just like, how is he doing this? So, Dwayne Wade, a close one that barely missed is Derrick Rose. Huge Derrick Rose fan, bro. And Penny Hardaway. Those guys are right on the cusp. But if I had to go like my 5 best, I would say, all right, let me do it like this. If I'm gonna make a team, what is wrong with Rasheed Wallace? Yeah. If I had to go, if I had to make a team, if I had to pick a 5, number 1, I gotta say this. So I would probably take Shaq, but I think that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just in terms of body of work, you're talking high school, college, NBA,
one on every level.
Didn't lose in high school. You're talking almost 4 years of undefeated seasons and state championships. Same thing in college, national championships, and then obviously he dominated the league. So it's hard sometimes with the big men because, they don't dribble. So unless you have somebody who can pass you the ball, you're not able to score points. So that's the hard part sometimes with big guys. But I gotta put that in there. So I'm gonna take Shaq, but I gotta shout out to Kareem for what he done. So I'll say Shaq at the 5. I'm gonna break code a little bit. I'm gonna go LeBron at the 1 instead of Magic.
Okay. Ooh.
So I'm gonna go LeBron instead of Magic at the 1.
They basically the same player, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? They say Bron is like Magic anyway, so you can't go wrong with either or, bro.
Except he can fly. He Magic and he can fly, and he 270 coming down the paint. You know, he bigger than him. So I'm gonna go LeBron at the 1, Kobe and Mike on the wings, however you want to put it, 2, 3, whatever. At my 4, I'm gonna probably go Garnett.
KG.
I think Tim Duncan is obviously a greater power forward. You know what I mean, with what he was able to do, his accomplishments and everything. But when you talking KG, when you talking, you know, a really complete player, bro. You know, can shoot the ball, can handle the ball, can defend, can switch out on that pick and roll, can guard the post, you know, rebound. Is super unselfish. He gonna play harder than anybody on the floor.
Man,
you know, I don't think
Kevin. Go at you.
Yeah, I don't think he get enough credit, you know, for the way that he was able to play in every game that we saw him play throughout his entire career. You know what I mean? Like if you watch his last couple of games and watch his first couple of games, he is the same person. He's screaming at you, yelling, he played the exact same way. You know, and as a coach, that's what you want. You know, you don't want to have to coach effort. You know what I mean? And you got guys who give you maximum effort. Just think about the guys I said, you know, outside of Shaq. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, Mike, LeBron, Kobe, Kevin Garnett, those are all guys you don't have to push a button on them and tell them to go. If anything, you got to calm them down. Yeah, you got to calm them down, if anything. So I would go with that. If I had to, you know, maybe mix it up a little bit, I'd probably take Shaq out and maybe go Olajuwon. He might fit that group a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay. Can't go wrong with that 5, brother. You know, either way you twist and turn it, it's a killer squad. You know what I'm saying?
It's nasty. It get nasty.
For sure. Well, Jay, man, I appreciate you, Brody, man. Like I said, this was fun. I had a great time. You know, I just want to give you your flowers, man. You know, as a hooper, you know what I mean, just as a father. You know, I always see you at the games. You know, I never really got to really meet you in person. You know what I'm saying? But I seen you around at the games and stuff like that. So, you know, for me, man, I salute you. You know, for everything that you've accomplished. You know, as a father, man. So, like I said, I just want to say thank you for coming on my platform, man. I hope this, you know, was a great thing for you. Like I said, just want to give you your flowers and, you know, send all love to you, man.
Yeah, man, much appreciated, bro. Thank you for having me on. Me and my son, bro. We appreciate it. Love.
No, for sure. All right, Brody, man. I'll talk to you, man. You be easy.
No doubt. You too, bro.
All right, love.